Something really strange happened. The screen minimized. I can't open it. Let's see, what do we do now? I'm gonna close it again. And it's still there. That's really strange. Very, very strange. Okay.
Is there a little minus sign there that you can click and it brings it back?
Yeah, that's what yeah, usually that's what happens, but
Huh.
hold on. Nope, that's not it. You know what I'm gonna wait, nope. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shut down and come back in. Okay, we'll see if that works.
Is the sound off, maybe?
No.
No, just nobody's saying anything.
We're just not saying anything, Elizabeth.
Right.
We're all waiting for Mary to get going. Yeah, we're lost without her.
Right, really. So Leslie, have you been over to see if there's anything sprouted over on the wildflower?
No, I've been wanting to, and I got
wonder
down to
what-
Saugerties for the first time in ages today, and I forgot to go over and check it out. But yeah, I'm still in ski season mode, believe it or not. Yeah, actually, I skied this morning. It was great.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Really? Where's there snow?
Fantastic.
It's so cold, windy.
It was. Yeah, it was. But, I didn't stay out too long.
Hi, it's Nicole. I'm going to be driving during the meeting because I have to drive Theo to get his car that was getting fixed. So I'll be here, but I'm just going to not be on video. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard you.
We heard
We're
you.
dead
Yeah.
silence.
Have
Dead
a good drive.
Okay, I'll be here.
Keep your eyes on the road.
We're all very well trained not to speak
Right, really.
at once.
Right. I can see,
Don't worry about it.
I can see it.
Fine.
So Leslie, have you got any kind of places that we can get some plants to put in?
That's, I guess, to
Yeah,
let.
well, when the Catskill Native Nursery opens up, that's going to be the first choice.
Yeah, right,
Yeah, it sounds like a very good resource.
right. I'm excited about planting stuff. Of course, I'm a little ahead of it here. Although I've got onions up and stuff, so that's great.
Leslie, do you know Polly Law?
No.
She works there,
Yeah,
and she's
cool.
she's got a lot of expertise.
yeah, she's really good.
Cool.
Yep.
Well,
Okay.
watch for them to open and go from there.
Okay, sorry about
Yeah,
that.
I don't have the credit card from the town at this point, so it'd be out of my own pocket and then get reimbursed, but. And I have to set up with them tax exempt status, but yeah, it gets complicated.
Yeah, I know, there's too much stuff.
Okay, guys, sorry about the delay. I don't know what that was all about, but anyway, here we go. Okay, shall we start with approval of minutes?
Yes.
So
Elizabeth-
moved,
I
Ken.
make a motion.
Okay, Elizabeth and Ken second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. Okay, next on the agenda is CEC. Okay. We got notification on Tuesday that Skip's action that he submitted, which was the CDG, which was that one that shows what kilowatt hours the town is getting from the solar farm. And I was really concerned because it was a very complicated submission. Skip had spent so much time on it. It was so difficult to figure out what document documentation they wanted and whether it was going to be okay. So I was so excited on Tuesday. We got approved for CDG.
Good.
Yippee. I
Yay,
said,
Skip.
Right.
yay, Skip. That's what I said.
It was mostly getting through the bureaucracy, because in the end, the people who I got a hold of finally got me the information who I'd asked for to begin with. It went around in circles and circles. So it wasn't actually so much the information was hard to get. It was just hard to get a hold of somebody and have them respond to give me the information. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Perseverance pays, Skip. You were you so persevered through that process. So good for Skip. So that brings us to 4,200 points. We got to go to 5,000. Next step. We got from CSC approval for bronze recertification, right? That's 800 points. That brings us to the 5,000 points.
Wow, terrific.
Terrific. The only little delay is that NYSERDA hasn't approved of our bronze recertification, but I think that's totally pro forma. We got it. I think it's just a question of they haven't gotten around to it yet. So I think we're there. I'm so excited. I think we're going to have the 5,000 points. And so that's going to allow the town to apply for that $100,000 grant. So the next question then is, under the provisions of the grant application, we can apply for a clean energy project grant or a special kind of a grant. So everybody, I'd like everybody at some point, in the next week or two, to look at the Climate Smart Communities program, look at the different, look at that and see what they're looking for in terms of a proposal for a grant that will just absolutely be approved. If we do a clean energy project that's on their list, or so to speak, to do, we just apply for it. If we want to do a special grant, then we have to submit a grant proposal. They have to approve it, and then it goes through the process.
Mary, did you mean climate smart communities, or do you mean clean energy communities?
I mean climate smart.
Climate smart. I thought this was a clean energy communities.
It is a clean energy community, but the grants in the clean energy community is subject to a clean energy project. Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, right. I'm sorry. It is in the. I'm sorry. It's in the CEC.
Right.
It would be in the CEC. I'm
because
sorry.
the reason we pushed this was there was money available in CEC, but not in CSC. So that's why we're pushing this.
Yeah. Okay. So look in CEC 3.0, and we'll just kind of get an idea of what you think we should recommend to the town for a grant proposal.
I mean, one of the things is that apparently they're having trouble getting enough money to put the chiller in. So $100,000 would go a long ways to get that chiller in, and that's one of our goals anyway. And relative all this revision and stuff like that, getting that chiller done, is really important.
Well, that's why I mentioned the two different types of grants. I don't know that the chiller, I'm sorry Kathleen isn't here, but she'll probably be the one following up with this. I don't know that the chiller comes under the first area of grants that they would approve, which are clean energy projects. And that's why we have to go and look at the CEC to see what's going to be a clean energy. This might be a special project.
The chiller?
The chiller may be.
Okay.
You know what?
Kathleen would know that, right?
I don't know. You know who I think would know it is maybe Eleanor.
Okay. Well, because that would be the most straightforward thing to do. The project's underway. They need money for it. I still think they need money for it. I mean, and this grant would obviously be appropriate to that, and it would be kind of a slam dunk in terms of getting approved, if so.
Yeah, and also to that point, we probably have a lot of documentation already.
Yes.
Chiller.
Yes.
Ken, are you looking up for this CEC, the grant section?
Yep.
That's what I thought you were doing.
She can read your mind. You read your face.
Yeah,
I've
I
been
can
looking
still do
down,
more.
so I figured,
I can still do more than one thing at the same time. I
Boy, you're
don't
lucky.
guarantee I'll be able in future, but I can still do it now. Yes.
the only thing is that it's going to be a little bit more, it'll be an extra step. Whereas if we said, I think one of the things on there is charging stations, but whatever one they say, I don't remember them all. But if we just said charging stations, we say charging stations and they're going to kind of approve it. If the chiller is not one of those projects that they automatically approve, then it would be another step in an application.
Yeah,
You don't want to delay things any more than you have to, though.
right.
So it's,
Okay, well,
it's
I mean, the
important.
charging stations would be also important too. See, I thought the chiller would be a more of a slam dunk, but if the charging stations are more of a slam dunk, then we should go to that and just, hope we can get some kind of granting somewhere else for the chiller.
Well, I think this is really open for discussion because there's, arguments on both sides of what to do. The chiller was one, I can't remember any of the others, but Ken will figure that out. And I think the other thing may be to ask Eleanor whether or not the chiller would apply,
Okay,
would be considered a clean energy project that doesn't have to go through the extra step. Do you
Okay.
see the extra step there, Ken?
No, I don't, not yet. I'm looking at the full funding opportunity for details on grants, but I don't, there's a lot of information. It's kind of hard to identify exactly what we're looking for.
let's just shoot it to Eleanor. She probably can cut through it because she's most.
I
Yeah,
think,
she
yeah,
probably
we'll do
can.
that. Okay. So reason for celebration, but because I really think we're there. I absolutely think we're there. I don't think it's going to be any problem getting that final approval from NYSERDA. So congratulations to all. Okay, next on the agenda are the CSC actions that were not approved, but that they have to be revised. Did you all have a chance to look at that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, let me see if I,
Is it possible to resend that link or resend that?
hold on. Yeah, I don't have the link handy. Okay, so there were, I think, what, 8 or 9 that must be revised?
Yeah, 9.
9. So the question is, are we whether or not we're going to be able to revise them to include the additional documentation that they want. I know there was the interior lighting, which I think you, Skip, you and Mike, did you originally work on that one?
Yeah, I thought so. That in the exterior.
Mm-hmm.
But I
We
thought
did
we sent them,
exterior.
I thought we sent them all the information that they wanted. And what they were asking for, I'm not sure we can look at it better. They said they wanted better pictures of the exterior and they wanted documentation, but Central Hudson was making those changes. So we don't have any invoices for that. They're asking for invoices and documentation. So I don't know exactly. It's unclear what they want because I thought we were pretty complete. Because I don't know, maybe we got to go back. Good luck if we got to go back to Central Hudson and ask them for documentation.
One of the things was a photograph of the street light,
Right,
I think.
right.
We wanted to make sure that it was a certain, what they were installing.
Yeah,
Right.
this is the outdoor lighting action, and they wanted
Right.
photos of the fixtures. Greg sent me photos of the fixtures and they were lit. So they could
Right.
just see the light. They could not see what the actual fixture is. So I think if somebody at town hall could just take a copy of the fixture, and that's what they want to see. They don't want to see it lit.
Right.
And then the other thing were the invoices and the date installed.
Right, that's what Central Hudson did, and I thought we sent him that stuff as much as we had. We sent him a list, or Mike and I compiled a list of when the street lights, and which ones would be changed out. And what other verification can we get? Do we have to get invoices, Central Hudson's invoices? I don't understand.
Good luck with that.
Right. I mean, because as I remember, they had the choices of the town taking over the lighting and doing the operations to switch out to LEDs, or Central Hudson keeping them and, just billing us out for doing this stuff and say, hey, they've been done. But we don't get invoiced for that, so we don't have any invoices.
Well, if they build us, we should have a copy.
They don't bill us though, because Central Hudson is the one that owns them. They retain ownership of those lights, as I remember. And they make they say, okay, we're switching these over. Okay, and I remember compiling getting a list from Central Hudson of which had been switched over.
Yeah, we have all that.
That's what we did. I mean, they're the owners of the lights. We're not the owners of the lights. We just pay them to maintain them. So we don't get billed for that because they're the ones that are doing the switching over under their own auspices.
So we don't have any access to information then if they own it.
I don't know if that's what they're asking for.
Again, Skip, if you're willing to follow up with this and just talk to Eleanor about it and see if
Okay.
she can advise us
Do
accordingly.
is there a way of sending me the copies of the information that you sent into them? I don't have that stuff, so.
The portal, I believe, is locked. Which portal is locked? It's one of them locked. CSC, CEC, CCA, CDG.
Well, if we don't have the information that they have to document it, boy.
Well,
I don't have that. I'm saying I don't think I have that information anymore.
yeah,
I think
and
we
I
said it'll be-
don't know that I still have it. I will check if I still have it. I
So I
don't.
don't know. I don't know what to do in that sense.
You know who does have it is Eleanor, because one time when I was looking for information on the portal, which I couldn't get, she had, and that they had kind of archived it.
Okay.
Okay,
I will get a hold of Eleanor and ask her what they need for that more than what we gave them.
yeah, exactly what more they're looking for. And for the interior lighting, which would be obviously the town hall, I think to follow up with that, as I recall, the $10,000 grant that we got was to do additional LED lighting at town hall. So maybe that interior lighting action could just be updated with
as I remember, what they're asking for is they were confused about, or we didn't supply them the information of the number of square foot of the buildings that were being. This is crazy. How many points is this? Is this worth all this work?
Yeah, is it worth it all?
Right. I don't know. They seem to be really nitpicking about how many square foot each building is now.
Yeah.
Not just that, hey, we did all the buildings. And they're saying, oh, I think they're asking for the number of square foot of building.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you. If it's going to be more time consuming and more difficult, then we don't have to revise it. It's up to us. So, okay. So anyway, we'll leave that aside for the moment. Skip, you'll do outdoor lighting. Solid waste audit, they want an assessment of the results and distinguish between government and residential solid waste. I can follow up on that with Doug Beyer at the transfer station and see if I can get what's needed for that one. Recycling for public places, they wanted to know the role of the town, the venue served, recyclables collected, and 2 points, not 4.
okay, so I can
can
look up that because I'm working with Greenway. I do volunteer there, and I know Greenway, and it looks like what they're looking for is some kind of authentication of how the town was involved in that. So I can call her and find out. I think they were contracted by Kiwanis, who uses the town facility. So that might be a confused thing. It looks like they're looking for direct involvement of municipal people in this thing. So that would be Greg Chorvis.
Yeah.
So that there's like a 3-step process. So getting the information, how the contractual relationship worked there would be maybe what they wanted.
Right, and show, as you said, show what Greg Chorvis's team actually did, Because they really, I mean, they worked on it, obviously, to set up with the,
Well, what they did was they contracted, as I see it, Kiwanis contracted with Greenway 77 to do it. So it was a contractual relationship with an outside, it wasn't a contractual relationship with the town. Town employees are not there. It was, 90% volunteer work overseen by Greenway, who was engaged by Kiwanis, I guess contractually, to do the situation. So there wasn't any, other than Greg Chorvis, what his involvement was with, the thing. It may be though that some of the town employees, as I remember, because somebody came around on carts and picked up the stuff and took it, and that might have been town employees. But other than that, I don't know that there were town employees involved in the situation. So if that's required, I don't know.
Well,
I think the town workers pick it up, and then Kiwanis pays them in terms of the hours that they utilized.
Okay, I'll find out what.
Kiwanis pays for it, but the town does it.
well, it's a town facility. It was at a town facility. And I think any work that Greg's guys did could count for the town's participation. So Skip, if you can get that information, that would be helpful. If you can't, then we just can't,
Well, I think I can get that. What I'm going to do, and what I thought, and when I saw this, I'm going to copy that requirement because it describes what they want. And I think if I send it to Greg and say, okay, how does this work and how can we, because he's been real helpful in the past and he's very knowledgeable about the workings of all that. So and I might also send it to Josephine from Greenway and ask her also and see what the contractual relationship and see who most of the people at the sites, the 9 sites that were the pickup things, were volunteers. Then there were these guys running around and picking up the stuff and then bringing it to Greenway's big roll-off and dumping it there. So I don't know if those were town employees or more Greenway employees or volunteers. That's something Josephine and Greg would know.
Okay, so if we can confirm that they were town employees, we can show, the town's involvement. So,
well, even if it was a contractual relationship, I mean, it doesn't. If the town, was involved in a contractual relationship with another entity, then that's okay.
Yeah. So, okay. Okay, next one is the zoning ordinance. Ken, I believe you worked on that one. And what I saw they said the zoning link was empty.
The link was empty?
That's what it said, zoning link empty. So whatever transpired there, I don't know.
Was that the link to the town zoning law where
Yes.
something was changed in the zoning law to make it more environmental?
I don't know if it was that link. I don't know if it was the link that you put in that showed the update in the zoning ordinance. Remember, we had to show that it was written in a certain
Right.
period.
The zoning law itself was just outside the interval of time that was acceptable, but then a change had been made within the time frame, the appropriate time frame, and that's the one that we were pointing out. Same as Skip, do you have the original material that was sent in for this? Because without knowing what it is that was sent in, I can't check out if something was missing, and if so, what it was. The same as Skip is saying that it would be helpful to see what was actually sent in. I don't have that.
Yeah. And I don't know that I have it anymore either, that I have access to it.
But you would have the original on your computer, whether it was in PDF form or Word or whatever, right? Or not, you had to fill something out online. Is that how it was done?
I had to upload to the portal, okay? So, but what was uploaded to the portal, what's in the portal, I don't have. I can check and see if I have the if I have the file on my computer that was uploaded. I
Yeah,
can,
that would be helpful. In the meantime, assuming maybe you don't, I can go and look for the law that I would have referred to, the change in the town zoning law, and send that to you. Send you the link for that. But it would be helpful to have the original to check out what didn't work, what link went to nothing, or simply didn't
was
work.
empty. Well, if you
Yeah.
can send both links, if you send both links, the link to the zoning law and the link to the additional amendment to the zoning law, then
Okay.
we can put those in.
Okay, I'll find that. I'll do that.
Okay, the next one was conserved.
Mary, can I butt in for 1 second? You and Skip were talking about outdoor lighting. That was the one that they had questions about, the outdoor lighting. Okay, I've put into the chat
Yeah.
the part of the statement about what was missing. And as I read it, all they were saying that we needed were better pictures of the fixtures with the lights turned off so they could see what the fixtures were. Because when the lights are on, and that seems to be when the pictures were taken, or you get our blobs of light. And then they end by saying in future submissions, the town should also submit an invoice or purchase order, so and so on. But that says in future submissions. Does
Right.
that mean that what we sent was okay, except they couldn't see the fixtures from the pictures?
That's that's what I took from it.
So you don't think we have to go back and
No, I would just email Greg and ask somebody to take a photo without the light on.
And
send
make
it
sure
to them.
before sending it in that it is very clear what the fixtures are. Or if there's more than one type, one photo of each type of fixture. But what they said, and I put in the chat for everybody, seems to say in future you should do this as well. But it doesn't say you need to do that right now. It simply says the submission could be strengthened by taking the same photographs with the lights turned off so the viewer could better see the type of fixtures.
My interpretation of
Yep.
future submissions was this revision. That's what I interpreted as a future submission. Now, maybe I'm misinterpreting, maybe they don't mean it like that, but this
Don't
is
know.
a future, you know.
I read it as if this is a response to what we submitted to get points for. And if that's the case, saying in future submissions, but maybe it does mean when you provide whatever we don't already have, do that. That it would certainly make it a lot easier if all that's needed are clearer photos.
Perhaps Skip just run that past Eleanor also.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll send her. I don't know if does she receive this information that we get?
Does she receive the most revised? Yeah, I'm pretty sure she has access to all of that.
Okay, so we can just say, okay, P3 exterior lighting, what do they really want here?
And then be more explicit. Don't leave it up to her to figure out what you mean. What do they want here? Ask her that it seems to be they want better photos with the lights off, but then they talk about something for future submissions. Does that mean we have to do that now or not? Any work we don't have to do is very helpful.
Believe me.
But it seems quite straightforward to just take a picture with the light off. Now, I mean, if there's ambiguity, why not just clear it up now, in other words, and take pictures with the lights off?
Elizabeth, of course, you don't want it to go back and forth again. It takes time.
Okay.
So if Eleanor can find out what they meant or has a better interpretation of what they meant, it might save us another backward and forward. If they really want the extra information, we could be sending them the pictures and waiting for them to respond. And at some point in future, they'll say, no, we also want purchase orders or whatever. So
Yeah, I think
if
the question-
Eleanor can help, it would be really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, do they want the invoices and the date installed now, or is that for a future? So that's pretty straightforward. Okay, so where were we up to now? We did the recycling, the zoning ordinance. Oh, the next one is conserve natural resources. And there they recommend that we update the open space plan, which is something we've already said we should be doing. It was last done in 2010. So that I think is something that should maybe a priority for the future to update that. Okay, the next one was culverts and dams. That was your action, Mike.
I'm sorry, which one?
Culverts and dams.
Yeah,
I have an update on,
I'll take a look at what they're asking for.
I-
And I'll send it to highway.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mayone should be able to answer those questions. Those are pretty highly technical questions that, you know, it seems like he would have the knowledge. That is, Mayone would have the answers to whether they meet those standards or not, because they were asking if they meted certain standards or not. So Mayone should have that information.
can I?
Mary McNamara had a question.
So this morning, we had a meeting with Fred and the Highway Department and Ulster County Department of Environment to go over this very thing. So the county, beginning in 2020, did a road stream crossing inventory, and today was a training for that. So Fred had asked to make sure that you all received that information. So
Like slices are great.
So it's called, so anyway, it's a road stream crossing, and it also includes a road stream crossing management plan. And also the town is applying through Bridge New York to replace a bridge, but I'm not sure if it has to do with sizing or just the bridge was washed out. So my question for the Climate Smart Community Task Force was, did you apply for credit for that study in 2021? I have some notes and I wasn't sure if because I don't get the emails, so I don't really know what I've forgotten what you've gotten credit for.
I don't recall us applying.
No, we didn't apply for
Okay, so you can get 2 points. So today, Ben Gannon, who did the study, said that the town can get credit through the Climate Smart Communities Plan for for participating in this thing. That the abbreviation is RSX, Road Stream Crossing. And then they did create also a management plan, so we can get another 2 points for that road stream crossing. And then to double check with what the highway department is doing with replacing a bridge, whether or not it's connected to proper sizing. So at least that's 4 points. And if there's some questions on what needs to be submitted, Ben Gannon or Europa McGovern could help us with that. And I'd be happy to work with you, Mike, to just help make sure we get credit for that.
Okay, thank you, Mary. That's good information. We'll have to follow up with it because we
Okay,
didn't.
well, I will attend to that change that is needed with highway.
Yeah, for this particular action.
Right.
Okay, the next one was the greenhouse gas tracking system. That the revisions there, I don't know. Patty really worked on that, and Carol assisted. The revisions, I don't know without Patty's participation, because she, as I said, really put that all together, whether we would be able to revise that if that's possible. And the final action was performance. And again, that was something that Patty worked on, and I know Carol worked on it with her as well. Carol, I don't know if you've looked at either one of those, but I looked at what they wanted, and it's nothing there's nothing that they're requesting that I have, you know, the knowledge or the background to send to them.
I'm sorry, I think I did look at it. This is probably a month ago now, and I don't actually recall exactly what they were asking for. I probably could answer some of those questions. I don't know if Patty, they're asking about quantification of kilowatts, et cetera, that were collected. Patty did that, but I think we have all that info. So, I'm sorry, I'm just a little overwhelmed at work, so I'm late for everything and don't seem to find the time to help out here.
Well,
But
yeah,
would try.
yeah,
If somebody else wanted to work with me, that would be great too.
yeah.
Keep me
The,
on track.
one of the things they said, which I didn't realize, is that we were in the inventory, we were saying they said that the town could not get credit for the RECs because from the solar farm, because the solar farm company got those. So that's a whole other issue, but it seemed to me very complicated what they were asking for.
Okay.
Well, I've got a document, the agreement with that company, the land bill,
yeah.
that it says,
It's like solar.
yes, that the contract said that the town would be credited with 65% of the output. And that's the in searching out that the CDG information, that's the first document they gave me because I thought that was necessary, but it wasn't. So the contract, the initial contract says that the town is entitled to 65% of the production of that facility. So I have that document. If that's what they need for that, I mean, it says town gets this much of the energy. And that's, if that's what they mean by the RECs. So that document's available.
Okay, well, Carol, you're going to take another look at it and
I'll take
see
another look.
if that, and if what Skip says we have, if that will satisfy that requirement. We'll see if we can revise those and get the credit for it. Okay, next, any other questions on the must revise, or we're okay with that?
Well, just to go back for a moment to what Mary was saying about road crossings, was there any, and this may not have to do with, this may be attenuated, but is there any kind of project about road crossings for animal protection, for animals to cross safely over roads? Or
One of the categories in that study is aquatic passage. So
Okay.
there are 4 components and one of them is aquatic.
Okay, good.
And I'd be happy to send the link. I can send it to Mike and he share it, or I'll put it in the chat. It's very exciting what was done.
Good.
Okay. Okay, next on the agenda, the community climate greenhouse gas inventory. Rob has been working on that. Skip was working on it. I've been involved in the Zoom meetings. So Rob, can you give us an update? This is Climate Smart Communities, as you know, program. So
Yeah. So we went back and forth a little bit with the town water. Am I saying that correctly? And we did get information on the sewer accounts for Glasgow, Malden, and Kings Highway District. I think the one thing that we're lacking, and we do have for Bluestone, is just septic, which I don't know this for a fact. I'm assuming is a very small percentage of what we've got out there, but they did suggest that we talk to possibly to the assessor's office. So I've got to reach out to them and see if they can help us with that part of it. Yeah, I think that's the update I've got.
okay, we did get 30 sewer.
Yep.
Septics. We got 30 septic systems from the water
Yes.
department.
Right, for Bluestone. Yeah, they didn't know about any of the other districts, however.
So, okay, so perhaps the assessor can provide that. I can tell you there are approximately 65
Okay.
on the Esopus Creek Road that are on septic. So you could add that to the inventory.
Okay.
Yeah.
And may I ask how this affects the greenhouse gases? I'm not sure how septic and sewer work into greenhouse gas emissions. Is that what this is about?
Yes, community.
Yeah, a community. So I understand, that we weren't tracking it before under municipal. But what does that mean? What are we tracking?
Yeah, so I don't have a complete answer to that, admittedly. But there is a calculation in one of the in the spreadsheet that we received that we can punch in the numbers, for each. But I suspect that, well, I'm guessing here again. I don't have the answer off the top of my head, that they're not going to be that dissimilar. But I can come back to the team with a better answer than that, with confirmation one way or the other.
And I'm not involved. I'm sorry, I'm coming in from left field here, so
It's okay.
apologies if they're incorrect questions, but I was just wondering, is there a way to track people driving their cars to and fro? Is that part of the community greenhouse gas?
Yeah, there's a
Collection?
transportation component to
Yeah.
the calculations that were done. Yeah,
Mhm.
that were
So-
provided to us.
Oh, you do have that? Oh,
Yep.
how'd you get that?
I'm sorry, Mary, what's the name of the organization? I apologize. I'm still
Hudson Valley Regional Council,
yeah.
and they have done the yeoman's work on this project, and they have created a template. And what we have to do, and they have created Excel spreadsheets, and they have identified the residential, the motor vehicle, the industrial, the commercial. They've got
Right.
all these different parts of the community for greenhouse gas emissions. And what Rob is working on is plugging in the numbers to the different areas so we can know where the greatest emissions are and then develop a plan to address it.
Perfect.
Rob, am I correct? It's the vehicular motor.
Vehicular, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. I didn't realize we'd come this far.
Yeah, and I
with
apologize,
somebody
Carol.
with all that data.
I'm learning as well. I'm still new to all of this, so.
Yeah, it's my view of this is if we don't work on this now, it is a complete missed opportunity because the regional Hudson Valley Regional Council has done so much work. Would you agree with me, Rob?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they did the lion's share of the work. I mean, the only thing they've asked that I can recall is just this, the information about sewer versus septic at this point. They've done all the rest of the calculations.
And
Is
we
there- Sorry,
Carol.
I was going to say, is there a way to get to see how they amass this information, just out of curiosity? Is there just go to their site? Is that it?
No, you will go to the inventory because it's all laid out in the inventory, how they determine the data. And most of it is by population, as I recall. They took total population and then figured out what the population of the town was and then did a kind of conversion. Am I explaining this right, Rob?
Yeah, and I think that's a fair way to describe it. Absolutely.
It will be in the inventory, the methodology. What is it about? And how many pages, Rob? 15, 14?
It's a ton. Yeah, I think it's about 14, 15 tabs in the Excel spreadsheet. Yeah, it's fairly involved, and you can go in and actually punch in. You can actually put in the municipality because it covers, the whole region, right? So you can put in your specific municipality. You can put in town of Saugerties, village of Saugerties, whatever, and it'll populate the data that they came up with.
Yeah. Yeah, so we really have to, my view of this is we really have to get this one. It's 16 points on CSC. So, and besides, to have that inventory would be so important so that we can begin to address how to reduce the emissions in the community. So, okay. Any other questions for Rob on that? Nope. Okay.
Mary, and I'll have some more cycles to start to put a little more work into that. I've been tied up with work and kid schedules. So
actually, I did have a quick, that sewer versus on septic, is that town wide and you're supposed to come up with numbers?
yeah, that was the one of the calculations that they weren't able to provide was that breakdown, right? So they asked us to go to the water and sewer department to figure that out. They were only, with the exception of the Bluestone Park Water District, I'm looking at the email they sent back. They were only able to identify sewer accounts for us.
Right. So, I mean, if you had a count of all residential properties in the town and then you subtracted that
Right.
number, you're going to have,
Yep.
I think, the majority.
Right.
Yeah,
Or
Yeah.
at least, I would say at least 50% of the town of Saugerties is on.
yeah. I think we can back into
Okay.
it pretty close. Like I said, though, I'll reach out to, they suggested reaching out to the assessor's office and we can kind of, and see what we get from them. But I think we can approximate it pretty well.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're just going to approximate
Yeah.
because we won't have an exact. Did you
Yeah.
have a question, Mike, or a comment?
No, I was gonna follow up with saying to subtract out any sewer districts and then determine the house count.
Right, right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on. Next on the agenda is the Climate Smart Communities Climate Action Plan Committee. Okay. So what I'm looking for is folks to work on a committee to put together a climate action plan for the community. Once we get the inventory numbers, then we start working on a plan to, a plan to address the largest emitters. How are we going to reduce our emissions? So I'm kind of using the model that we use for government climate action plan. We had a committee back then. Carol, you were on it.
Mhm.
Anything else here?
Yeah,
Pat,
well,
well,
Mike and Skip collected information about LEDs, I think, and not sure if that's,
But that was for government and not for the.
yeah, that's what you were just saying. Oh,
Municipal.
yeah.
This is municipal, it didn't, yeah.
So I'd like us to form a committee. Again, the Hudson Valley Regional Council is doing the yeoman's work also. They have a template that we can use going forward. They have Zoom sessions. There have been 2 Zoom sessions. So anybody who wants to be on the committee, I can send you they're just an hour just to get kind of caught up. And there's going to be 3 more Zoom sessions, I guess, April, May, and June. So it's not going to be, I don't see it as a huge commitment of time. I think going to the, listening to the Zoom or attending the Zoom meetings and just following up with what we need to do. As I said, I don't see it as a huge commitment. So I hope we get a couple of you guys will kind of work on that one. You can think about it and let us know.
so what's the timeline on that? Besides those 3 Zoom meetings?
I believe they're going to be finished. Let me see if I have it on my notes here. No. What they're calling the cohort, that will end in June. That will be the last meeting. So at each of these meetings, they guide us through what we need to do. So we'll know what to do. And then I think it's going to be a question of when we do what we need to do. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Mary, do you have a sense of what time the day they're giving those? Or does it
Yes.
vary?
Oh, good question.
You want to know the dates that they're giving the,
If you
And
have the
time,
date and times, yeah.
yeah.
I do. I found it on my notes. Okay, the next meeting is April 11th. Wait a minute. 11 at noon to prioritize high impact actions using, okay, April 11th at noon.
Okay.
The next one is May 9th at noon. June 6th at noon.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't attend those
I know.
as much as I would love to.
Well, they record them and they're available.
Numbers.
Yeah,
They-
Carol, if you sign up to go to them, you'll get the recording. You don't have to be there.
Okay. Well,
And
I
you
would
can view
consider
it.
signing up. What were you
Hmm?
going to say, Skip?
You can review it later. You can, look at the thing.
Right, that's
They
true.
hold it live and, you have an opportunity to ask
That's
questions there.
questions, right.
But everything is presented. You can see it again at your, when you have time, your leisure, if you have any leisure.
I would certainly consider doing it. And the first one is April 11th.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and not only can you review the Zoom recording if you can't be there for the actual meeting. The gal who runs it is called Melanie. She has office hours. So if you have a question or you need help with anything, they're there to help. They have been
Okay.
very responsive. So it's so that's another resource. And just quickly to give you an idea of where we are with it. The meeting I went to, I guess a couple of weeks ago. Okay, what we have to do, what the committee will have to do is find the highest emitting sectors. That we'll get from you, Rob. You'll give us how much is residential, how much is commercial, how much is vehicle. So that's one of the things we need to have, and Ron will give us that. The second thing we would need to do is to identify partners who help influence emission reduction. So we could think about who in the community we would want to partner with who will help us reduce the emissions. And then we need to do a list of actions that are done or in progress. I'll take care of that. They want to know what we've done or what's in progress, and I'll take care of that. And then the next thing we have to do is highlight existing programs to be included in the spreadsheet, whatever that means. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So,
Sorry, by partners, are we talking vendors?
no, I think what we're talking about is, okay, let's say the school is admitting, it would be one of the admitters in the community.
Okay.
You would see maybe the school district as a partner saying how
Okay.
they might, talk to them about how they might consider reducing emissions.
Sure.
Chamber of Commerce, the business community, talk to them about it and say, hey, these are your emissions now, and we want to help reduce them. Let's come up with some ways that the business community can do it. That's the way I see it going.
Okay, thank you.
Right now, I'm working with public housing. I wonder if that would be a partner for the public housing that we have in Saugerties. I don't know if
Absolutely.
that's even included in our gathering of data.
Residential, right, Rob?
Yeah, well, it's
It should be under
residential, but
residential, yeah.
multi-family, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
multifamily residential.
Yeah, I
So-
don't think that they do, I don't believe that there's a big breakdown of different types of residential. It's just kind of big, big swaths of
Right.
residential versus commercial, but it should be in there, yeah.
I guess that would be considered commercial, actually.
I don't,
I can ask a question,
It's a commercial entity, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
great.
find out,
But
yeah.
it's residential housing.
Yeah,
It's not
That wouldn't be
commercial.
commercial.
It's not commercial entities. It's
Yep.
people who are living there, so it is residential.
Right,
Whoever owns it,
it's commercial,
I mean, if you are a renter, you're still a resident. It's a residential thing. Just the landlord owns the house, so
Right.
this would be the same thing. And then the partner would be whoever owns the housing
Yep.
to reduce the
correct.
GHG.
Do they have records of installation of solar arrays on houses in the town? Is that something that's valuable to know? In terms of reduction of,
Right,
you're talking about,
that's a good point.
you're talking about residential, a climate action plan involving a residence, is that right?
Yes, you do have to get it. I know when I had mine put on, I had to apply to the town to,
So there would be a
so
permit,
somebody would have a record of those
Yeah.
applications for solar installations.
Yeah, there'd absolutely be a permit for it, yep.
there would be a permit for it. I don't know if that's information that's should be applied to what you're doing there.
do you recall, Skip, if they mentioned that in any of the Zoom meetings there in the beginning a while ago? I don't recall
I don't recall. No.
how that was. That would be another question maybe for Melanie.
There were also arrays on private property, large solar arrays. We have
Right.
quite a
Yeah,
few.
total tennis, yeah.
Well, Carol, you're involved in the solar mapping that I had to drop out of,
Mhm.
aren't you? And maybe there's been some discussion of that in the, I mean, I know there's only been 2 sessions so far, but is
Yeah,
that-
well, unfortunately, I had to miss the last one. But, so I don't really know exactly where we're at with it. But yeah, I mean, obviously the solar campaign is going to be identifying large scale solar arrays and where they can go. It's mostly where they can go.
Mhm.
That's identifying good places to locate solar. I don't know that they have locations of existing solar. I'm trying to remember. Fair Brothers has some, Total Tennis has a bunch.
There's the one out by Marketech.
So does that go, do those solar arrays, do they count towards our community benefit? Or do we, does that
Well, that's a whole
decrease the
different-
GHG?
The CHD only had to do with municipal.
Oh, okay, reducing the GHG only had to do with municipal?
Being involved in CD, community
no.
distributed in
Distributed,
generation,
yes.
and had to do that 300 points or whatever it was, had to do with municipal involvement and municipal use and proof of municipal use
Right.
of that community distributed energy.
So what we're working towards now doesn't count the way the community has reduced their GHG emissions?
Well, what you're trying to do is create a climate action plan.
Mhm.
So what's been done already
Is a
water over,
baseline.
it's water over the bridge and a baseline.
Oh,
Got it.
Well, yes and no, because what we've done already is part of the spreadsheet that we're going to be filling out. And then we can look at that and say, okay, we did solarize Saugerties. And we can look at that and say, well, maybe that's an action we should do again to help reduce emissions.
Right.
We have the solar farm or the solar array, the East Light Solar. We have that. We know how much that's producing. Maybe that would be the action plan to investigate further solar facilities for the community. We've got CCA. We could see that's in part of the inventory is what CCA is, what the reduction in emissions for CCA is. Maybe we can say, okay, we've done 2 CCAs. Maybe that's been successful, and that could be an action going forward that we would recommend that the town continue doing CCAs. So we can piggyback off what we've already done, I think would be one approach. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, okay, so let me know if you're going to work on this. You can email me and let me know. Okay, what's next? Repair Cafe. We talked about this at the last meeting. There's this gal in Saugerties, her name is Linda Amore. She is going to be doing a Repair Cafe. At the last meeting, we discussed that we would be co-sponsors. Having gotten no objection to our being co-sponsors, I said we're co-sponsoring. I'd like to put that in, I would like the record to show that we agreed to co-sponsor Repair Cafe. Any objection?
No.
Okay.
Great
Yeah.
idea.
Okay, I think that should be part of the record. Okay, here's where we are with Repair Cafe. This gal has gone around the community. She has gotten 7 or 8 coaches, folks who are going to come and show people and help people repairing their item. She went to the Chamber of Commerce. She got some guys there who are supporting her. She's gone to Kiwanis. She's gotten some of them in on this Repair Cafe. She's got the Key Club involved.
That's
Great.
Let's get her on CAC.
Yeah. So,
Right.
so now we have a date. I call town hall, June 1st. Put it on your calendar. June 1st, from like 9 to 2, Repair Cafe, and also she could not get the fee waived for the use of the senior center. It's going to be at the senior center. But now that we are co-sponsors, I sent out an email. So no fee because we're co-sponsoring. So we got that. And I spoke to Leanne the other day on the phone. Leanne is going to make all the copies for Linda's flyers for the Repair Cafe. We got this thing going.
Right, really.
Yeah. And you want to hear the icing on the
Good
cake?
day.
You want to hear the icing on the cake? Everybody listening?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
4 points for CSC.
Oh, yay.
Nice. Yeah, what the really important bottom line is.
Right, really, that's all we care about. But
I
yes,
know
good
that she went to the Chamber of Commerce and Barbara is on the chamber and she mentioned us as sponsors.
Good.
So she's putting that information out.
So even though we're sponsors,
Oh,
she
fine.
doesn't get to use the Senior Citizen Center without.
no, she does now.
Now she does because we're.
Oh, okay,
co-sponsoring.
okay, that wasn't clear. You said that, but I
Yeah.
didn't have the completion of that.
Yeah.
Because we're sponsors, she gets to use the Senior Center for free.
Right.
Yeah, because she's on an
Okay.
outside group now.
Okay, great. Okay, I didn't understand it. Okay.
Yeah. Did Barbara mention, make any comments about her presentation at the chamber?
Only that she felt she was a good, energetic person that was getting out there, and as you said,
Mhm.
nothing specific, more than that.
And one final point on that, she has a meeting with the Blue Cats in May. So she's going to get some of those Blue Cat guys to maybe be coaches or something. So yeah, she's off and running.
Yeah, no, she was very active.
Yeah. Okay, so one final point on this. To do a repair cafe, you need the starter kit. She has gotten the starter kit, it's on her credit card. I'm proposing that we agree that we could take that money out of our budget to reimburse her for the starter kit. The starter kit, I think, is $53.85, 87. Let's say $54. So
Absolutely.
I would like to discuss this. If there is agreement that we can take this out of our budget, so it's open for discussion.
What would it contain? Just out of curiosity, what sort of tool would it be? Tools or?
Let me see. Okay, all righty. Starter kit includes, ready? Everything from templates for flyers to templates for interviewing repair coaches and much more. It also includes an extensive online library of repair manuals, literally tens of thousands, that can be accessed at any time. Repair Cafe will also list us on their world map of repair cafes. We're going to be worldwide now known, and anyone can sign up for their newsletter.
But it doesn't sound as though it's sort of internet aspects. There's no sort of nuts and bolts involved, or.
Well, that sounds fantastic to me. I mean,
Yeah, people bring
things
their own
outreach.
nuts and bolts.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I
You know,
see.
you've got the template for the advertisement and the repair manuals, and I mean that sounds a great deal for $50.
And 4 points.
And I think since we're a sponsor, I mean, part of sponsorship in a lot of cases is supporting things financially. So
I agree.
my vote would be, I think it's a great deal. It sounds like really a lot of information. And so I would propose that
moved.
we do this.
Second.
Okay, moved by Carol, seconded by Skip. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good. Let the record show that. There was one other, the final point is she's planning one for September, the second one.
Okay, excellent.
To Skip's point, again, we will have to show for these points that the town was involved. And I think by not only the use of the center, but even funding the starter kit gives us another.
And Leanne's copying of the materials.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the flyers are all being copied at, town hall. So, okay. Anything else on that? Okay, no, moving on. Okay, Leslie, the EMS report.
EMC, I was not there. I was in Puerto Rico. I did not make it to that meeting.
That's
Oh,
great.
Well, tell us about Puerto Rico.
Yeah, really.
much more interesting than the meeting, I'm sure. Okay, next on the agenda.
Mary
Mary has her hand up.
I
Oh.
just was gonna say that at the transfer station in April 20th, we're planning on doing something with promoting people using buckets for their composting, for participating in the composting program at the transfer station. So that's the Saturday before Earth Day. So there'll be some flyers and things, and we still haven't figured out whether we would hand out buckets or sell them for not a lot of money or something like that.
What were
But-
people using before they were using buckets?
Using whatever they had, but the people often show up with plastic bags, and then there's a little garbage can off to the side. So it's kind of silly, you know, people who are so sensitive to using the
That was why my question was, if they weren't using buckets before, what were they using?
plastic bags. So it's just to show people how to do it, you know, or what these buckets look like. I mean, it's just $2 buckets from, you know, you can use anything, but to use plastic bags is sort of defeating the purpose, especially
Hey,
when you
really?
leave it
With
there.
lids, buckets with lids.
Bucket, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Buckets with lids, either
Oh, my.
snap-on lids, or you can get a special attachment where it's a screw-on lid, and so it contains the liquid better. So Joe, who runs the transfer station, is all on board about this, and Doug Myers in support. It'd be great if it got sort of the CAC or the Climate Smart Communities thumbs up. So if you wanted to be some sort of active or passive co-host, that would be fun. The more the merrier. And then also to work, we'll be working with Shout Out Socrates to do some sort of mural on the bins, because they're pretty ugly looking at the moment.
What's
But
the date? What's the date of this?
April 20th. It's a Saturday. So again, it's the Saturday before Earth Day, which is on a Monday this year. Just what I wanted to do, be at the transfer station on a beautiful Saturday. But
Well, how long is it gonna last? What are the hours?
well, it's open from 7 to 3. I guess we would aim for sort of 10 to 2, 11 to 2, something like that. 10 to 2. So
Are you doing advertising for this?
I plan on it, yes, doing a flyer, maybe between what Mary's helped me with in the past, we'll do something like that. So it's a way to just, the program is 5 years old. So it's a nice way to just sort of.
Do you have funding? Can you put it in the paper?
We have no funding other than what the transfer station provides, but no, there's no funding. So any way that you want to think about participating. We get a public service announcement, but.
So there's no way of getting it in the paper or anything. Because if you're gonna hold this thing, but if nobody knows about it.
Or you can get it on Facebook. You
one.
can get it on Facebook. Maybe you could get it on WDST or other local radio stations for free.
Hudson Valley One.
Well, Hudson Valley one will cost you.
For a public announcement, they're pretty good.
Okay, I'm just asking how you get, you're gonna have people there for 4 hours. How are you gonna get people to come?
Right, and then it's often a busy day, but yes, good point. So would you all consider being, I don't know what a co-sponsorship entails, but.
Well, if you could tell us what it was, then we could consider it.
I'll have to come up with a catchy name.
Well, just what.
No,
the
no, what our involvement would be.
commitment.
I'm
The
sorry, Mary?
commitment.
Say that again?
What our responsibilities would be if we were to be a co-host. Do we just put our name on it?
Just
Approved
what's
by?
your name? Yes, approved by, or you provide $25 or $50. I haven't done this before,
Well,
but
I mean, it certainly would be no problem to say that we, we're behind this,
Support it,
that's fine.
Right.
But whether we were required to be there in person or whether we were required to do the advertisement, because you're really gonna have to do some outreach and advertisement and, a couple of times before the date. Else you're not, nobody's gonna know about it. The only way we know about it because we're at this meeting here. So if you had a plan to, advertise it, that would be probably be helpful to your
Right. Just like in the past, we had a flyer that we put on the town's website
okay.
and also handed flyers. Put a flyer in a window, not hand out a flyer at the transfer station.
Is there something that you could put on the container itself in
Well, that was
March? Like
that was what Joe had wanted us to consider. Ideally, that would be great, yes.
and that's what you would need money for, perhaps?
Maybe you could get stickers and just put decals on the buckets.
Right.
That's
right.
not gonna get people there because they want, and you gotta get them there to get the buckets.
Yeah,
So
but
we'll get
sorry.
people there. We'll get people there.
Yeah.
We'll get the advertising out one way or another.
Okay.
Getting the buckets and some sort of signature image. I don't know if we could use the Climate Smart Communities emblem.
The what? The Climate Smart Communities what?
Your image, your logo. Do you have a logo?
Oh, yeah, we have a logo. Yeah, you
So
can use
could
that.
could we
I can send you that.
okay,
And in terms of advertising, once you have your flyer, it can go, they can go on the calendar on the town website. It can go on the town website. It can go on channel 23. And as you said, you can put them around town.
right,
Leslie mentioned Facebook, that we've got 3 different Facebook. So I think the bottom, the first thing is just to get that flyer together. Now, I did the pumpkin recycling flyer.
It was wonderful. I loved your pumpkin
You like
flyer.
the pumpkin? Well, if I had the information, I would try and put a flyer together for you.
That would be wonderful. Okay, so I'll get that to you in the next few days.
Okay.
The best thing is to get it to the transfer station
Right.
Right, well, they're
as a
already,
handout.
right, so they're already partners. They were the ones that were all excited about it.
Yeah,
So
so I'm just saying, those are the people that use the transfer station. If you get
Right,
it, you'll have 3 weeks of,
Does anybody use it here? I do, but does anybody
Yeah,
else
I
use
do.
it for their bones and whatever else?
I got my own composting thing, so.
there are quite a few
You don't eat
people who use it.
bones. We
Yeah.
do, so.
Well,
can we
also,
move on?
yeah. Also at town hall, and have Zach announce it, at the town board meeting. So.
Right.
I mean,
I
this-
think Mike's right about the handouts at the thing. Have them ready now, and as people come in,
Yeah, just hand them out.
give them a flyer, whether they ask for one or not,
So to print up logos, I don't know what kind of price we're talking about. I can talk about it further offline, but say it's $30. I don't know if you all would be interested in contributing to something that's your own logo.
We have our own logo. We'll just give it to you. You don't need money for it.
You're talking about the money to print the handouts. Is that what you're saying?
To print the stickers.
Okay, well, there's 2 different things going on here. There's stickers and there's handouts.
I'm not asking for the handouts. I'm asking for stickers, something to put on a bucket to make it look somewhat formal.
But
What
this is
Leslie
premature. We don't have a design. We don't know what we're putting on it.
Okay, so I'll begin with your logo and see how things go this spring, and if we're successful, we'll do it again in the fall or something like that.
Mhm.
And then I'll have a budget. Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Next is the planning board report. Carol, do you have anything on planning board?
Not much is happening.
Oh,
Everything is slowed down to almost a halt, the large projects. So right now, not really, there's not much. I keep on thinking that all sorts of things are happening behind the scenes and I don't know about them.
Mhm.
Carolyn,
Does anybody
is
else
there
know
any-
anything?
Is there any further word about the Dominican sisters?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay, next, any announcements that anyone has to follow up? No? Okay. Well, I'm just going to mention that, as I said, I'm going to, step down as chair and coordinator. So I'll do that in April after we're officially CEC approved for the grant. So I'll be stepping down in April.
Mm.
So in terms of going forward, and thinking about who's going to take over. I don't know if anybody is willing to has anybody stepped forward to say, yep, not yet? Nope. Okay. One suggestion I had to think about is, I think I mentioned this to Skip, that instead of one person chairing CAC and chairing the task force, if you had one person chair CAC and they just handle that, and then have another person appointed by the town board, we need, because we need that for CSC. One person appointed by the town board to just head up the task force. So the responsibilities are, it's divided. And then I was thinking, within the task force, if somebody would be willing just to do and be on top of CSC, and someone else just to be on top of CEC, so that so that way, who's ever heading up the task force could rely on someone, this is CAC, this is what we got to do, this is the emails, this is this, and this is that. And the same thing with CEC, which we know they're going to be phasing out. But it's still, for this year, we're going to have to be dealing with it in terms of probably the grant, et cetera, that's coming up. So I just throw that out as an idea to think about, because particularly the task force coordinator has to be officially reported, that's a CSC requirement. So, okay, any other announcements? Moving on. Oh, I move that we adjourn the Climate Smart Task Force meeting. Is there a second?
A second.
Nobody
A
wants
lot of us.
to stay. Okay, all in favor, approved, onward. Okay. Next is the CAC meeting. Approval of the minutes. I move that we approve the February minutes. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, Elizabeth, all in favor? Aye. Okay, here we go, Mike. Now you're on. The next one is the memo from Mike regarding the development, the water supply, and the water protection. So Mike sent out a very extensive memo that I'm sure everybody had a chance to look at. So Mike, do you want to take it from here? Mike, you're muted.
You're muted, Mike. Mike, you're muted.
Thank you. I just see that there is a train coming down the tracks. And that train is the crossing of our development pressures and the pressure for water. And that's why I kind of just went back and gave a little history of what's gone on in the town in the past and the studies that have gone on in the past. And I feel that we need to encourage the town board to update its work. The last work in terms of showing development pressure was in 2008. And that's the last time they really took a look at how that affects our water. And even back in 2008, people from the planning board saw this problem coming down the road. As I said in the memo, I think the village is starting to put more pressure on the town in terms of supply of water. And so there's a problem, there's an issue. And I just felt like, let's get ahead of the issue as the CAC and make our voices heard to the town board. And I don't know what that voice is. That's I just throw this out for discussion and to see where, if at all, we want to go with this. The other reason I kind of put this out was that pretty soon we'll probably hear from the Winston Farm folks, and then we start to deal with possibly taking water from an aquifer, which is a whole other issue that we have to deal with. So I don't have any suggestions. I put this out mainly to get a discussion going in the CAC and see what you think.
I
Well,
agree
it's-
with Mike that it's a crucial issue, and there has been more, especially since 2008, there's been more and more development pressures. And if part of our mission is to advise the town board about environmental issues, and I think this is a very crucial one. It's also a very large one, so how exactly to get a handle on it is another question. I'm not sure.
I know that there's been studies as to where our water is coming from now. And I don't know how to understand the capacity of it and whether there's an expansion possibility of how we get that. So it seems like there's on the ledger, there's the supply side, and then there's the demand, the current demand, and then potential demand. And how do we protect the supply, number one, and how do we see what else is there to expand on it? That's a simplistic way of looking at it, but I don't know who would be able to do that other than the people who have already done some of those studies right now in 2008. Are there other ways of doing this?
Would we consider, we had the study from 2008. I'm so not clear on what we have now in terms of our water supply. Do we have any data that shows what our water supply is? Do we have that data?
Oh,
Do we
sure.
have that data?
Something like
Isn't that what was,
650,000 gallons a day, something like that.
isn't that what the 2008 study last addressed? And Mike, on what you're saying is that things that you're talking about, what we've got, where we're going with it, hasn't been addressed since 2008.
Right.
And so what we need is an update of the 2008, which would answer Carol's
Years later.
and everybody's questions about where it's coming from, where the development's heading, and how we're going to manage this. That's what the 2008 study addressed, but it hasn't been addressed in 16 years.
Gary McNamara, you had your
Go ahead.
So the I believe it was 2005 study that was implemented in 2008 is for groundwater only. And it was very helpful, but even the author of it said, 20 years later, it needs updating. I guess it was Ken, you were the one that encouraged the CAC to consider applying for the DEC Department of Health funding grant, the Drinking Water Source Water Protection Program.
Yeah.
And
that's going to be another topic to discuss. So
Right.
yeah, that's on the agenda to discuss. So let's hold off on that for a minute and just focus on what we would recommend to the town to address the issue. Now, Skip is suggesting that we recommend that there be an update to the 2008 report. Is it a
Yes.
report?
So, Mary, are you saying that, Mary McNamara, are you saying that the 2005, 2008 report only addressed groundwater? It didn't,
No.
it didn't address aquifer? Is that
Well-
what you mean by groundwater?
It only addressed aquifers, correct?
As opposed to what?
Yeah,
Surface
yes.
water. So all of the current drinking water, I mean, I'm not saying anything you all don't know, but I'll just repeat it. All of the current drinking water that exists as a public water supply, except for the Blue Mountain Water District, is surface water coming from the Blue Mountain Reservoir. So it's important for us to understand how much volume we have from those aquifers. The study that was done in 20 years ago, whether it was 05 or 08, I
Are
don't.
you saying that 2008 did or didn't address the aquifer?
It did. It
Okay,
mapped
so,
out. Yes. So
and it also addressed the Blue Mountain supply.
No,
no, it addressed the existence of where groundwater exists in the town.
And how to protect it from pollution. It was
Correct.
not in the it was requested as a part of redoing the zoning law. And the idea was that there was a section on groundwater, but that needed to be updated. And so the request was that they address the issue of protecting the groundwater, but not anything to do with how much we were using or how much we would need or where it would come from. So it did not address that at all.
Yeah, the 2005 was basically dealing with the aquifer and protection. The 2008 was directed towards development. It outlined future projects, and then it also correlated that with the surface water that we get from the village and the supply. So those are two different things. They're both important, and both have to be addressed, but they're two different things. So I kind of hoped that we would piggyback on what Skip had just mentioned, and to get some message to the town board that it is necessary to update that 2008 study,
Right.
as well as I don't know if there's any necessity to update the 2005. It was a pretty complete, excellent report on aquifer protection, but certainly water supply and the developmental pressure that has existed since 2008. It's only getting more, and the village is tightening their grip on their water. So we're going to get to a point where the town will not have an extra source of water.
I would also think it's important to, when a developer assesses their future need of water for their project, that be subject to further analysis, because it seems to me that most of the development projects underestimate their need for water for their project, and that was true of HITS, I think, and I don't know about ongoing projects, but it would seem to me that would probably be a trend that should be that there should be a closer analysis of developers' estimation of their future needs.
Do you know that for sure that they're underestimating their needs?
Well,
Is there a study that showed that this project's thought that it was going to use 5 gallons per person, but it's really 10? Or do we not have that kind of data and we're just sort of doing this by feel?
I'm afraid there's probably more than the latter at this point, but I do
Mhm.
I do know that that was true of hits. And I'm not sure.
We needed more
perhaps-
water? Okay.
So, and Carol, did you say before that in the planning board stages that the developers of any plan do not have to come forth with their water needs as a part of
Well,
the?
my take and understanding is that obviously if there's no water, yeah, then they can't do it, but that's never happened. It's always been that there's water to be had. They just have to.
How did they know?
So they do, everybody sort of guesstimates, I think it's the 5 gallon per person a day kind of requirements. I don't really know. It's a lot more than that, Leslie. You're shaking your head. 10?
I'm sorry, do you mean just drinking water?
Yeah, drinking, showering,
Oh,
toilet.
okay.
So
Yeah, I
that's
would
what
think it would be
developers look
more
at.
than that. Yeah, I always thought it was like 70 gallons a day per person
No, it's a lot less. It's
for drinking and
for
toilet
drinking
and
and toilet.
shower.
Yeah,
Per person.
5 gallons?
yeah, I think so.
Uh,
But anyway,
that's-
it doesn't matter. That's not what I don't look at those numbers. It is analyzed by the district that they're in, and sometimes they have to create a water district to get the hydrants, and get everything else pumped up there. But it's never been a problem with developing anything so far. Now, that was one of my questions was from this 2008 analysis, I don't know that anybody was using it other than saying, oh my God, we've got a problem back in 2008, but I don't think it's ever been used as a break on anything. Am I incorrect?
Are we sure we're talking about two different reports on the water? I only know the one that dealt with keeping the water safe and that was used in
No.
revising a particular section of the zoning law. I'm not familiar with the second one. Steve Winkler did the one I'm familiar with. Is anybody talking about a different one?
Yes, there was a study, I don't know their new name, Mary, but
Yeah, you could,
but
Labella.
Chase and companies did a study in 2008 that's separate, that's not the Winkler, Steve Winkler's study.
Okay.
And I kind of mentioned that Mike Tayano, who's on the board, on the planning board now,
Mhm.
made reference to that in 2022
Yeah, he wrote that up.
as a problem. So the planning board, at least in Mike knows about.
No,
Wow.
again, let me just say that there was no real data to do this by. Now, he may know that there's, yeah, I somewhere saw 665 gallons, I think, in your report, Mike, that the town is purchasing from, is that right?
650,000 gallons a day
A day.
is what's purchased by, what, it's not what purchased, it's what the maximum that we can draw.
And we've been drawing more, is that true?
During the
Intermittently.
Intermittently,
supply.
Summer
right, thank you,
months.
Skip, right.
And from what I saw, we're over 50% of that. Glasgow is reaching its limit. From what I just saw, the town board is now extending Kings Highway corridor, which is a water district. So that's going to start pulling in more demand. So that's what's going on right now.
But Kevin just, I don't know if anybody saw his chat, that it's after, thank you, Kevin, it's after 650,000 that they raised the price. if we use more. So there must have been some agreement. But at any rate, I think we're not using data accurately. And so I'd love to have that kind of ledger if we can understand what we have. And maybe I'm wrong. And who uses it, and then where we go in the future. And I also know that a lot of us are on wells. And if somebody starts sucking water out down by Blue Mountain Reservoir, or further upstream, I should say, I don't know if my well would go dry. So it's a very complicated subject for the town to address.
Yeah, they're gonna have to hire a consultant.
Mhm.
And that's ultimately what, we're not gonna do that. What we're
We just know the
advising is
problem.
that,
But
at least in my eyes, is that we're advising that there's an issue and that hasn't been really updated since that 2008. So that's basically where I'm at.
It just seems like common sense to get those figures together, what we've got, what the possibility is, get an advising, engineering firm in there to say, here's how much water you got, here's what you can expect. And the planning board's got to take that into consideration when they consider development. It's almost like outrageous that it doesn't happen. So if that what's need to be done, it seems like a no-brainer
To be proactive.
Right.
Let Mary go.
so Mike, thank you for pushing this, for presenting this in such a formal, organized way. I think that's hugely important. I would politely disagree with what you just said, though, that back in 2005, it was a task force by the CAC with the village and the town jointly together that hired New York Rural Water Association to do the 2005 study. I believe it was Winston Farm money, or money that was raised through the Winston Farm Alliance that helped hire New York Rural Water Association, and their price is very low compared to a professional engineering company. So there's a precedent of the CAC being a formal, organized channel to assess and protect and plan for public drinking water or water supply. So that's just sort of one bucket. And then the other is these different grant programs that exist, such as the one that Ken mentioned, the DWSB2 that Mary, you said you wanted to talk about later. But if I could just talk about it now in the context that it's a way to study your existing source water. It's not a good system. It's not able to be used for predicting where you want to put a public water supply. I have not yet found a grant that you can use for studying, for updating the 2005 groundwater protection program. So that data was broad and general. And Steve Winkley, the author himself, has said that study needs to be revisited in order to understand what would be the quantity, the flow for different public water supplies. And I think that for the CAC to have a conversation with Fred and the town board would be helpful. I hear anecdotal things, but it's not formal. It seems like the more formal it is, the better. And right now, sometimes the village uses over 1 million gallons a day. Right now, sometimes the town uses almost 1.6 million gallons a day. We are using double the amount of water we have available during the summertime, and conservation is possibly something that the CAC would take on as a campaign, and you get points for it. So
Are you suggesting that the CAC do the study?
I'm suggesting that the CAC oversee
No.
a grant program if study, and that is what was done in 2005. In 2005, in the preface to that study, the CAC oversaw it.
But that was in conjunction with the Winston Farm Alliance.
But
and,
you did a town-wide groundwater study.
Yeah,
There's no other there's no other there's no other entity at the town level that has the responsibility of overseeing the natural resource of water. It gets very political at the town board level. The superintendent of the water districts, they don't have the tools for carrying out something like that. The CAC has played a significant role. And that's why I thought you presented your proposal, was to continue that.
Let's get back, to the proposal here. The proposal is, what action should the CAC take with respect to this issue? And I think in terms of our role, which is to recommend to the town board. So what I'm suggesting is we focus on what is our recommendation to the town board.
Yes.
Is it to conduct a study, and then with to say to conduct a study and then enumerate in the study what we want studied? Can you mention different aspects of it? Mike, you mentioned different aspects of it.
Yes.
What exactly do we want studied? And just get a framework together that we could go to the town board and say, we recommend that this study be done. So that's our role, as I see it at this point, going.
Right. I would agree with that, except that perhaps go further and say that we would advise the town board to hire a scientific, someone with the expertise of someone like Steve Winkler or Chazen. I mean, to assess the need, future need, how to protect future needs of water. I mean, not just a general study, but hire a consultant, perhaps.
Well, the consultant would be the person who would do the study. So the consultant would be we want a study done. And this is what we want in the study, A, B, C, D. We want to know what the supply is. We want to know what the need is. We want to know what the future needs are. We can enumerate all the different aspects that we would like studied in this, that we would like addressed in this study, and a report presented.
yes.
So,
But I don't recommend that the CAC be, quote, the lead agency. We are an advisory agency.
Right.
And we're advising the town to move ahead with professional studies in terms of water protection, water supply, developmental pressure. Those are the three main things that we want them to look at. And we could cite the old studies that need updating. And they should be proactive.
I agree.
I agree.
okay, so we're all agreed that that's going to be our recommendation.
Yeah.
We have to-
And so how are we going to decide now what we're going to ask for, or is that a different meeting?
Well, I think at this point, we know that we want to recommend a study done. We've got a broad idea of what the categories are. I think we have to redefine that a little bit more, put a little flesh on that, exactly what we would be looking for in the study, and then present it to the town board. Mike,
I would like to see it modeled, varying models of development, but one of them being absolute full build out as matching up the zoning that we have. If we had absolute full build out on commercial and residential zoning, what would we actually have the water to support full build out of our zoning.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That would be part of future needs, right?
yeah, because if the zoning allows it, but the water doesn't, then the zoning is gonna have to be changed.
Right.
Okay. Going forward, I think we've got the general idea. We've got the idea that we're going to recommend the study. I think we have to, can anybody just sort of put down their ideas of what we would want in the study? And kind of encapsulate what we've discussed? And then we can revisit this. Does that make sense? Is that, like, what is your suggestion going forward?
My suggestion is that we develop what we want in this study. Why not? I'm willing to take it on to coordinate that. Send to me what you feel. For instance, there's one right there, a full build out of a zoning.
Yeah, that was excellent.
board to see what our capacity is for development. And the other thing would be water supply, groundwater protection. So I'll put it together and send it out, but I want ideas from everybody.
Yeah,
I
I'd be
didn't-
glad to try to send you, to try to put together some notes and send them to you, Mike.
Please.
Yeah.
Put down whatever you think is important to send on, and I'll kind of put it together and send it out to us so that we have something for next month.
Okay.
I don't want to hold off on this thing because there's stuff coming down the line.
Right.
So Leslie, Mary, Carol, everybody, whatever you think is important to send on to the town, we should do it.
You
I
know,
agree.
it might be helpful for me if I were to look back at the studies that were done and see what areas were covered there that we would want updated.
Right.
And
I think
And-
that could be helpful.
I think I sent out
You did.
The links.
of both studies, so you could take a look at them.
could you resend that? Because I
Yeah.
if I can find the link for the 2008 study. And I sent you, Mike, I don't know if I sent anyone else, the 1997 watershed protection plan that the village did with the Department of Health.
Interesting.
So
Love to see that.
So I'm wondering if we could also, I've been compiling sort of a list of different grants, working with Kathleen and with other people. So that's maybe part of the information that helps inform what the town does.
Okay, Mike, could you possibly send those studies out again to everyone in case,
I'll send them to you, Mary, and you.
and I'll send them back to everyone, the two
Okay,
studies.
sure.
We could
And if
take a
you
look
could-
at them in there, and that would at least inform me as to what
Sure.
I would suggest, okay?
And Mary, if you wouldn't mind including me as an advisor, a watershed
Of course,
representative.
Yeah, keep
advisor.
her in the copy to Mary McNamara.
and I'll make sure you're on the, I'll make sure you're on the list. Okay, was this helpful, Mike, or?
Yeah, I hope it's helpful to everybody else. I just want to get something into the town board's hands.
Mhm. Okay,
That's my main goal.
right, okay,
And so now if we can all just coordinate our ideas as to what we think is important, and it can just be a sentence or two. And we don't have to go into great detail, just what we see as we know what the problem is, we know what the issues are, what do we want them to do?
okay. Okay, well, thanks, Mike, for bringing it
Okay.
to our attention, and,
You-
okay, so next on the agenda, any other?
I'm
Question?
sorry, I know it's late, but I was gonna say, part of the reason that the town board or that Fred is encouraging expanding the Kings Highway Water District both water and sewer, is that the further it gets to the Glasgow Turnpike, the closer it is to Mount Marion. And even though that water supply is owned privately at the moment, there's hope
Yeah.
that it will be publicly available. That source of water is much larger than the Beaverkill Aquifer. So it is something that the town has their eye on. Fred mentioned it this morning. It's something the town would like to develop as a public water supply, not a private company water supply.
So that would be from Mount Marion Park mainly?
The blue, yes, from Mount Marion, yes. Currently, that's the largest aquifer because it's underneath the Plattekill.
I don't understand how extending the water supply from Industrial Drive
Yeah,
down it relates at all to,
it doesn't really, because that's the water, that's still village water. We're not talking-
At the moment, Glasgow Turnpike at Mount Marion is where the Hudson River Valley Water Company operation is. If you want to make that water, that groundwater available, then you need to run it a water line down from Glasgow Turnpike, down from Mount Marion to connect.
That's a totally separate supply. That what you're talking about, a totally separate supply from what the village is supplying the town with right now.
I'm saying to expand anyway. So this is part of it.
I'm asking a question. I mean, the supply you're talking about from Mount Marion, is that a totally separate water supply from what the village is using right now to supply to the town?
correct. It is
A different aquifer.
It's using the aquifer that,
it's a private water company, so it's one of our water districts, but it's not surface water. It's not
Right.
from the Blue Mountain Reservoir.
right,
So it's not owned by the village.
and that company is, we're looking to take it over.
Correct.
So that's another reason why we need to also include aquifer protection,
Aquifers, right, delineation of aquifers,
right, since that's happening.
yeah.
So the public hearing to expand that water district will be in 2 weeks. So that's why I'm mentioning it now, for you to understand that's part of the reasoning for expanding it.
excuse me.
Okay. It's,
I do not understand. I do not understand. If we are contemplating a lack of water supply, and we are now extending the district on Kings Highway, that will need more water.
right,
We're extending the infrastructure in
Yes,
order to connect with a source of groundwater that is the largest source in the entire town.
She's saying it's a separate source, Mary. She's saying it's a totally separate source from where we're getting it is from now.
yeah, but Mary, are you saying that when we put in this water line from Industrial Park down to the firehouse there? Okay, when we do that, my understanding is the benefit from that will be the properties that are along the
yeah,
Kings Highway, up to there.
that's
That
what
is-
my understanding is.
That
And
is
it's
the
village
short-
water,
That's the short-term goal. The longer-term goal is that would be a way to connect with a future water source.
okay.
A
Well,
separate water source from where
Okay.
we're getting it from now.
we're getting a little too complicated. I think what Mary is saying is correct, is
Mary.
right now, Mary O'Donnell is, we're connecting up to Glasgow Turnpike, the village supply.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and therefore.
And the Kings Highway Water District is underutilized.
But what Mary McNamara is saying is the future goal is to have
I don't know about
infrastructure
that.
there I'm trying to confirm this.
Yeah,
I'm understanding from what Mary McNamara is saying is the reason for running those lines up there is a separate source, a totally separate source that's under pressure now
okay.
that we could plug into. Is that correct, Mary McNamara?
That's correct. And
So
all
there's a
water,
separate
and
from Blue Mountain, there's a
Not-
separate source of water.
So,
all water supply operations, the more they have backup, the more they have different sources of water, the more resilient it is. So just like with New York City, they are going to combine the Delaware system with the Catskill system. So if we combine a groundwater system that's in Mount Marion with a groundwater system that's at the Beaverkill Creek and Winston Farm, along with the Blue Mountain Reservoir, we will then become more resilient. And then if we also introduce serious conservation practices, we'll become
Okay.
more able to solve our water challenge, because at the
Well-
moment,
Thank you.
We
Don't
don't-
get too complicated here.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
We got to understand that what Mary McNamara is saying is there's a separate source of water
I understand.
than the Blue Mountain Reservoir that we're creating infrastructure in to tap into to meet our needs. It's not just, we're not just running another pipe out from the system we have now, but we're connecting into a new source of water. Is that correct, Mary McNamara?
that's the hope, that
Okay. that's-
vision.
Okay.
Well, this is part of what we're asking the town to do.
Right. And
And,
Okay.
and so we,
Moving on, moving on. moving
yes,
on.
please.
Come on, we gotta move on, guys. It's, come on, it's like 7 o'clock. Okay, moving on. Okay, next, the DEC Water Protection Plan. Kathleen was unable to attend this evening. She has been the contact person, so I think we should table this.
I have an update,
I do
Mary.
too. I do.
I've been in communication with Kathleen. The town board did approve our sending a letter of interest to the program, saying we're interested. We'd like to learn more and what's the next step. And a week ago today, Kathleen sent the letter of interest. They wanted a secondary contact person. Kathleen is number one. I will serve as the backup. So we're waiting now to get a response to say what goes on now, what we need to do, what's involved. But we're
Shannon,
in.
are you talking about the flood, the flood resiliency program?
No, I'm talking about the water source protection program of the DEC. The
Okay.
thing I sent out,
Oh,
a
yes.
copy of their newsletter to everyone. So we have, it's been approved by the town board. We've expressed interest. They have a first and second contact person for the town. We're now waiting to see what the next step is.
Okay, and Kathleen has the next steps, so we'll wait to the next meeting. She will explain what would be involved if we were to go forward with this. So,
Correct.
okay, so we'll table that part of it until the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mary, can I interject for a second? Would it be helpful to invite Fred to our next meeting?
Hmm.
And to start a preliminary discussion with him and get some update on these issues before we put anything out?
Invite who, Mike?
Fred.
Pardon me?
Oh, Fred.
Fred Costello.
Yeah,
Fred, if we got Fred to the next meeting and indicate that we'd like an update on, these are our concerns. We are working on putting out some suggestions, but we want an update as to what's going on. Is that helpful or not?
Well, it couldn't hurt.
Should I
I
give him a
agree.
call?
I think if we did that, we'd get a direct perspective from Fred about these different issues, why the extension and stuff like that. And so our request to them, and then voice to him, here's our concern here, development versus source. And maybe, because I know he's spoken in the past, kind of reassuring people saying, oh, well, there's more than one source than the Blue Mountain Reservoir. So if he could speak that out to us, maybe that would assuage some of our concerns, or, contour what kind of request we had for a water study.
And
know,
as Kevin
before
put-
we formally put anything out, let's
Yeah.
hear from the supervisor.
And as Kevin said in the chat, Fred has been in contact with Jim Quigley about purchasing water from the
Right.
town of Ulster.
Right.
Right.
So there's a lot of issues going on. I'm willing to give Fred a call and see if we can line him up.
Okay,
It would be under the CAC part of the meeting.
Okay, all in agreement?
Mhm.
Okay, okay, thanks, Mike.
Okay.
Next is Bristol Beach. Mike, do you want to give us an update on what's
Oh,
going on at Bristol Beach?
Sure. Let's see. I don't know how far back to go. Well, about a month ago, we did meet with the Palisades Park special unit that works on developing these things. And in the past, we've had a lot of roadblocks. This time, the guy that's ahead of special projects was very, very open and helpful. And so we then went down with a team of about 6 of us to start to look at the development of the trails. And we walked 2 particular trails. It's sort of the lower hanging fruit that could be easily done within a couple of months. And we walked those. One takes us around the infrastructure of the brickyard. Another one takes us away up to where the quarry was for getting the clay. So we had, and then we had a second meeting where Fred and Todd Martin, who is involved with the trails in New York State, outlined 2 trails. So that's going to the Palisades Park, and we'll be cutting 2 trails in and hopefully opening to the public. And that's the start of it. We just wanted to get something so that the public can get in there. And that should be hopefully somewhere in the summer. No trees will have to be taken down. And that was an issue, because if you have to take down a tree of a certain size, you got to go through, you know, some okays, and also it involves the breeding season. You can't take down any trees once the breeding season starts. So we avoided that by creating trails that will not take any major trees down. So that's where we are, and it's moving ahead.
That's excellent news, Mike. That's really good news. I do have one clarification. When you said regarding taking down trees, is that because it's the Palisades and it's the requirement of the state, right? It's not a local.
Right. Like if the tree has a diameter of over 3 inches, I think, or circumference diameter, I guess, then you have to go through a procedure. Other than that, it can be taken down. So, and then if you have to take down a major tree, it can't be taken down through the breeding season. So that puts things in our way too. So we're not going to have any issue with taking trees down.
Okay, I just want to interject here. This is really important too, because Nicole has set up a subcommittee that I'm on, Leslie's on, and Elizabeth's on.
Okay, you can let her know that no trees will be taken down during that.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Any questions for Mike on Bristol Beach? Really good news. Really good news. Very exciting. Okay, next is zoning regarding events and lodging. I put this on because something came up at the last meeting about what was going on. And I hope somebody can enlighten us on this topic, because I'm not clear at all. I think the town board was looking at a requirement, a zoning change or amendments that would deal with events and lodging, because it was an issue in the town. Carol, maybe you're familiar with it, and I don't remember who brought it up the last time.
Carol had to drop off.
I'm trying to,
I didn't bring it up, but I think what started the discussion was that maybe Zach sent us a copy of a report from the Ulster County Planning Board with requirements
right.
for changes in our law regarding this. And so we had a discussion about it. The document from the Ulster County Planning Board, I believe it was, talked about being careful about lighting issues and about sound levels, because neighbors would be disturbed by both of those if you don't put limitations on them. And that's what got it to us to discuss. That's what I remember.
Yeah, there was something else too, that there's an issue with people buying up farmland and then using it as event sites. And I think the Ulster County Planning Board indicated that that has to be blocked, so that if people are buying farmland, they can't then turn it into an event site. It has to be used for farming. And I think that was another caveat that they were putting out.
Does anybody know, was there any action taken, or?
I don't know about that, but.
All right.
I believe they're having, it's required that they have 2 public hearings on any change in the zoning law. So I think what's going on is that they'll be scheduling public hearings, and the issue is whether we wanted to say anything as the CAC or as individuals. Simply bring it to our attention.
Ken, would you monitor this issue for us?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll go back and I'll find the email that we received and who it came from. I think it was from Zach, but I'll find that and let everybody know what it was and where it stands.
Okay. Okay. Are there announcements? Ken, did you send me something today that I said we should be discussing tonight? I was kind of. Can you send something? Oh, I know what it was. It about the oh, I know what it was about. It was about the NYSERDA is reducing funding for CEC. And the question is whether or not we would like to, the Public Service Commission is recommending reducing funding for NYSERDA for CEC. And the question before us is whether or not we want to make comments to the Public Service Commission. Okay. If we want to make comments to the Public Service Commission regarding the issue, and I'm looking for the whole thing here. Oh, here it is from Ken. Okay. Okay, the Public Service Commission is currently deciding how to allocate funds to NYSERDA for 26 through 30. They have reduced the amount of funds for municipalities and plan to end the CEC program. Our understanding is that funding for local governments previously was approximately 40 billion over 5 years. The proposed funding amount for 26 to 30 is just 6 million, et cetera, et cetera.
16 million, 16 million.
16, right, I'm sorry, 16 mil. Okay, now the Hudson Valley Regional Council plans to make public comments regarding this development. If you have feedback for the Public Service Commission and NYSERDA about these discussions, it would be worthwhile for you to make public comments as well. The public comment period, the comments, are due by April 15. And please find below some notes about formatting. We also have provided a draft public comment letter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and where you can send it from. So you all got this email. So the question before us, do we want to make a statement as the CAC? Do we want to do it individually? And
Well, we could do both. I mean, I would say, ouch! That's a big drop from 40 million to 16 million. I mean, those are the grants we're talking about. You know, they're going to end CEC and they're going to fold it into CSC, and then the amount that they're going to make available to CSC is, you know, a third of what was available before.
so why don't I do this? Why don't I take their draft letter and take their draft letter and compose a draft that would be on behalf of the CAC. I'll send it out to all of you. And if you approve, I will send it as a CAC comment. And then anybody who wants to comment individually, we can do that as well. Are we agreed to the process that I
Sure.
do a draft, send it out?
Yeah, I'm
And
curious as to why the funding was dropped. I mean, was there federal funding and that has gone away? I mean, there must be some reason for the funding to now be less than 50% of what it was.
I don't see it here.
No,
might
I
be-
mean, well, I know they're just like advocating for more money, but do we know we don't know the backstory as to why there isn't that money.
And it's the PSC who has done this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The PSC has told
Yeah.
the NYSERDA that they can't have as much money.
I guess, I'm just trying to pull up the letter, but
And it doesn't, I
No,
read it.
it's not in there as to,
I thought
you know,
maybe
the
it would
reason
be,
why.
I thought maybe that would be in there, that.
It's not, the reason why is not in there.
Mhm. Okay, so we're agreed. I'm gonna work on a draft from the CAC. You'll approve it. I'll send it out, and then everybody can do their own comments.
Mhm.
Agreed? Okay, good. I did want to mention, Kevin, that we kind of skipped over the town board liaison report because Ron,
Yeah, I saw Zach's email. I can incorporate it in the minutes.
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you to do. Okay, next, are there any other announcements that anybody?
Mary, unfortunately, I have an issue. Next CAC meeting, I'm going to a Bruce Springsteen concert up in Syracuse. So,
That's
Pretty
good.
cool.
would it be possible to just do our original plan of giving some input as to what we're looking for and send it to me for the April meeting, and then I'll get Fred for the follow-up?
Yeah, I think,
Because I'd like to be at the meeting with him.
yeah, given those circumstances, sure, we can do it. like-
Okay, so we'll just send me your ideas. We'll get something to discuss in April, and then I'll get Fred here in the following month.
Okay, so that's
Oh.
April 19th, right? The next meeting, yeah.
So
For the April, we get Fred for the April meeting or the June meeting?
The
Or
May
I'm,
meeting.
I'm saying,
May meeting.
the April meeting will do the input, and then on May 16th, we'll have Fred.
Okay,
If
Sounds-
he can, hopefully he can make it.
okay. Okay, anybody else?
Mary, I put in the chat that the next and final meeting for the Lower Sopa Stream Management Plan is in person and on Zoom, next Thursday from 6 to 8 at the Town of Ulster Senior Center. I believe the in-person is maxed out. It's filled up already, but the Zoom is still open. So it's for the implementation plan.
Yes, Leslie, can you do that as well? I know I've registered for it because you were involved in the earlier meeting.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll check my calendar.
Yeah,
And again, it's probably Zoom at this point, but it's important. So
okay.
thank you all for making such effort, all these different meetings and surveys. But it's almost done.
Okay. Okay, I'm going through my notes here, if there was any other announcements. I'm glad you mentioned that, Mary. I meant to bring that up in the announcements. So I just have one final question. Does anybody, well, Zach's not here. We don't know if the town got the hybrid, if Greg Shorvis department got the hybrid vehicle or
Oh,
no. Yeah.
It's
That
not
is
in
the-
there.
Yeah, okay. Anything else? Any other comments, questions? Nope.
see you next month.
You all are doing amazing work. You really are. It's.
I move to adjourn.
I think to adjourn is the operative
Okay.
word at this time. I'm ready. I move. Everybody
Okay,
second?
Second.
Hey, the rest of you can stay. We're gone.
um,
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kevin, for doing the minutes.
Kevin,
Nobody's-
does Kevin get overtime?
Nobody stays because I'm ending for all.
Okay.
You're gonna knock
goodbye.
us all out.
Take
Okay.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.